Now, on this second day of Rosh Hashanah, let me tell you a little bit about what's on my very tiny little mind today. The second day of Rosh Hashanah, 5786. You know, a common phrase we all seem to believe in is that everything happens for the best. How many times have we heard it or said it? Everything happens for the best. But I got a question for you. Akasha, do they? Does everything really happen for the best? I want to share a story about a very good man named Reb Shmuel ben Yosef. He was a man who lived in a very small town, and he loved and trusted God and accepted whatever happened because he believed strongly that it was God's will. Except sometimes he didn't. Most of the time he did, sometimes he didn't. He didn't always understand what was going on. Things seemed to happen to other people, and it puzzled him. He would often question things like, why should such a good woman, our neighbor Malka, who is so generous with tzedakah, have to be stricken with the death of her only child, while others who do not give even a shekel enjoy large families? It bothers him. He can't figure this out. It's just terrible to him. Then there was the time when he saw a very wealthy family who was good to everybody become poor overnight. He just thought this was a shanda. This was terrible. It was so unfair that this really good family would lose everything overnight. And as he got older and moved on in years, he found himself asking why and how much more often than he used to. Rabbono Shel Olam, he would say, Master of the universe. Reb Shmuel called out, help me. Help me to understand your ways. I know your miracles are everywhere, but the more despair I see, the more they overshadow your miracles. If only I could meet Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet. If only I could meet him. Maybe then all the tsuras that I see will no longer blind me from appreciating the daily miracles. You know, Eliyahu Hanavi comes to our homes every Pesach Seder. Takes a sip of wine and leaves. So fast you can't even see him. This guy, Reb Shmuel, wants to see him and talk to him. Well, you know, as stories go, Reb Shmuel happened to meet Eliyahu Hanavi as he was taking a walk one day. Eliyahu invited Reb Shmuel, why don't you come walk with me? So he could witness other miracles. You could see the miracles. Come with me. I'll take you. But I'm only going to take you on one condition. You know, Reb Shmuel says, what? What's the condition? And Eliyahu says, no matter how hard it is for you, don't ask any questions. Don't comment. Don't ask questions. Don't complain. Don't do nothing. You just come with me and watch. Rabbi Shmuel is so honored to be invited to go with Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, that he agrees. So as Reb Shmuel and Eliyahu walk along the road, they come to a small cottage. It's a very, very small cottage. In fact, in this cottage lived a very poor man with his wife. Very poor. And they owned only one cow. One cow, that's all they owned. Even so, they welcomed Reb Shmuel and Eliyahu and shared the little food they had with them. Nice people, very nice people. In the morning, as they were about to leave, Eliyahu gave a signal, and the couple's only cow collapsed and died. Can you imagine? The poor cow, it dies right there. That's all they have. And Reb Shmuel just gets angry and mumbles to himself, This is some kind of way to be repaid for being kind. So, he made a promise, but what the heck? He says, he can't hold back. I mean, he's getting angrier and angrier by the minute. Why? Why, Elijah? Why, Eliyahu Hanavi? Why did you cause their only cow to die? Why? I saw you do it. What's the matter with you? Eliyahu kept walking and said, have you forgotten what you agreed to? You insisted on an explanation, and if you continue to insist, this walk is over. Knowing better than to protest, Reb Shmuel shut his mouth and said nothing more, and continued to walk with Eliyahu Hanavi. That evening, they knocked on the door of a very wealthy man, who told them to sleep in the barn. He didn't even offer them even a sip of water or any food, nothing. Not even a morsel of bread, nothing. This guy wasn't such a nice guy like the lady and the husband. In the morning, as they were leaving, Eliyahu noticed that a tree near their house had fallen down. The storm during the night uprooted it and knocked it over. And as he walked by the tree, Eliyahu nodded at it, and the tree went up in the air and was returned to its former position, with its roots growing even deeper into the ground to give it enough support so that it wouldn't be so easily uprooted in the next storm. Oh boy. Reb Shmuel is just beside himself. He just can't believe it. Why would you restore the tree of such a stingy, inconsiderate man? Why receive such a reward from Eliyahu? But he held his tongue, hoping he would understand over time what was going on. He wanted to say that, but he didn't say anything. And then they traveled for 4 more days with similar confusing events. Everything that happened was the opposite of what Reb Shmuel thought it would be. The good people were punished in his mind, and the inconsiderate people were rewarded. Every single time. Oy, Gewalt. Reb Shmuel's really getting upset now. Finally, he couldn't hold himself in anymore. He just couldn't hold it. So he turns to Eliyahu and cries out, no more, stop, I can't continue. I can't watch this anymore. I can't do it. All you do is commit injustices. Please, stop. Please tell me what you've been doing so I can understand. So Eliyahu says, okay, I'll tell you, my friend, but you got to listen carefully. You remember the poor couple whose cow died? Did you know that the wife was destined to die that day? God had her on the list. So I pleaded with God to accept the cow in place of the woman's life. And remember when we were at the home of that really greedy, rich man who made us sleep in the barn and wouldn't give us even a sip of water or a morsel of bread? Do you remember? I straightened and reinforced that tree that had fallen. You know why? Had I not done that, the man would have found a hidden treasure that was buried in the ground under the tree's roots many, many, many hundreds of years ago. Eliyahu continued to explain how over the past several days, everything that seemed unfair was really the opposite. Right before Eliyahu went away, because that walk was over, he said to Reb Shmuel, let me give you some advice. Whenever you see wicked people prosper, whenever you see it, always remember that ultimately wickedness never wins. And if you see righteous people endure hardship, always remember that they are being saved from something much worse. Never doubt these things any longer. No living person can ever truly understand God's ways. Well, and that's true. Eliyahu left. Reb Shmuel returned home, and once again, seeing the wonders and miracles of the world that he now understood. So the question is, why did Reb Shmuel ben Yosef share this Baba Maisa in the Talmud? Why? It's a Baba Maisa, we all know that. Despite the popular phrase that everything happens for the best, nobody believes it. We want to believe it, but we don't believe it. He told it so we would. But the test of time has made this story become one of the greatest classic Jewish legends. It reminds us that due to our own limitations, things happen that go way beyond our ability to understand or even accept. This story highlights that we need to look at everything not just from one perspective, but from many perspectives. We are taught to look at the top, the bottom, the left, the right, the front, the back. The reason is we can never understand and comprehend God's ways. It's impossible for us. Even with all the information and artificial intelligence that is now available to us, it does not offer even a fraction of what we need to understand what is hidden from us. Even if we did have all the information we need, without knowing the context or having the right perspective or having a soul, which AI doesn't have a soul, we will still have no way to understand. Of course, when we suffer a loss or an illness or another kind of tragedy, this is not a good story to tell. Maybe. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But it seems to lack sensitivity. The people who lost the cow and not the man who lost his cow and not his wife, he doesn't know that. He just knows he lost his cow. And the wife doesn't know it either. And the rich man doesn't know there was a big treasure under the tree. We don't understand when a relative gets Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or whatever, MS, all these things. We don't understand. We don't understand. We don't understand the other side. No matter how much we hurt, sooner or later healing does come, but never completely. Eventually we might achieve an awareness of the good that exists in the world. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But sometimes, like when someone we love does something very special, we can even appreciate the blessings that we received during our worst times. These days, starting with Rosh Hashanah and ending with Yom Kippur, these days are called days of awe. The 10 days of penitence is another thing. But why? It's during this time when we are responsible to find our better angels. We have them inside. It's not truly angels, but you know what we're talking about. The challenge is that most of us are satisfied with the status quo. We don't really like change. Whatever it is, we live with it. We resist rocking the boat. Maybe if I do this or that, something else will happen. We're happy to keep things as they are until we allow ourselves to take a hard look at how we really feel and what we really need. Maybe we want to make changes, but then we fear that any change might result in unintended consequences that are absolutely not acceptable to us. We all have this problem. We all run into this. Who doesn't? Some it's worse than others. But we all have it. And for those of us who feel we are sitting on the horns of a dilemma, you know why you feel that way? Because you are. We all are. We are all sitting on the horns of a dilemma. We can become so confused that we protect ourselves by rationalizing everything away. Sometimes it works, but most of the time it don't. Some of us will find the courage to open our hearts and minds, and we find more love. We find forgiveness. We find empathy, and we will do the work required to make the changes we need to make. That is why those who come before us and took the traditions that we practice and the prayers that we say these days of awe, they take them so seriously those who came before us. I asked before, do you think that those who have gone before us and are with God are also dealing with Rosh Hashanah the way we are? Are they more serious, less serious, not at all? I don't know, but I kind of hope they are. They're taking it seriously, maybe more seriously than we do because they know more. But they took a real inventory of their lives and worked hard to find their better angels. They looked at their dark side and sincerely apologized to each other and to God. They pounded their chests as tears flowed from their eyes on Yom Kippur. And when they recited the seemingly endless list of things that we could have done wrong, every one of them, they pounded their chests. Sometimes tears dripped from their eyes. Today, since we have so much of history's accumulated knowledge so easily available to us, like never ever in our history before, we think we are much smarter than our parents, grandparents, and the rest of our ancestors because we have more information. You know, this can cause us to believe that we no longer need to rely on what we think are myths and hocus pocuses of the past. We don't have to do it anymore. We don't have to rely on it. We know more. We're smarter than them. I got to tell you, there's a reality here that we all have to face. Smarter does not mean better, and having more information does not mean smarter. Computers know more information than we do. Are they smarter and better than we are? Maybe in certain things, like math, but information without context, perspective, morals, and ethics is not better. In the coming year, may we all be blessed with being able to understand and accept our role in creating the society that God wants us to create. Tikkun Olam, rebuilding the world. Getting back to the story of Reb Shmuel, while most of us know from experience that everything does not turn out the way we believe it should, we must remember that giving God all the credit when things go right and blaming God when things go wrong is not the answer. We have to understand that we were created in the image of God, to be partners in creation that is going on in the present. It's still here. Creation is every day, every hour, every minute, every second. May we understand the context and the perspective that brings light to darkness and hope to optimism into our lives from this day on. And I want to wish you all a Shana Tova. May we continue to be blessed with courage, determination, healing, and inspiration during this Jewish New Year. And let us all say, Amen.